Did you know that according to recent statistics, over 80% of startups fail? But what about the 20%? What makes them thrive? Well, today I am beyond excited to sit down with California chic jewelry designer Gloriana Rydell, who literally started her design from her apartment on the floor 14 years ago and is now in over 1,000 retailers and in 14 retail stores of her own. You know, we got introduced through a mutual friend years ago, and I loved your story then, and I love it now, and I've been dying to sit down with you because I find it, first of all, so wonderful and exciting that a woman-owned business is accelerating at the rate that you are, and also jewelry. I mean, Gloriana, everyone and their mother and brother and sister wants to start a jewelry line.
And everyone can.
And everyone can, especially now, right? Probably wasn't even as likely.
When we started, I remember we would start, so my husband and I do this together, and
Which is a whole other thing I can't wait to talk about.
But he would call stores, and then we would go on appointments, and they said that the most amount of calls they get is for jewelry because it's the easiest thing to make yourself and to learn how to make yourself. It's definitely not the easiest thing to scale yourself, but in terms of just starting, and especially in California or maybe in New York where there's a jewelry district where you can go and get supplies. So that definitely was an easier avenue, which starting out gave me so much anxiety. I was like, oh great, so there's like 100 of me calling you.
Yeah, and that is one of the things I hear with all of my, especially female entrepreneurs. It's like, well, why me when there's so many other people out there doing or trying to do the same thing? How did you combat that? How did you say, well, I'm going to do it anyway?
It was really a means of survival. I mean, we really were determined to make it work and survive. Like we literally didn't have car insurance. It was we were okay, we need to pay the bills. So let's get to these stores. And I think we were really down to earth. I think we, from the beginning, realized we had to provide really good customer service. And we really looked at our boutique partners, because that's how we started, as partners. So we said, is it not selling? What's working? What's not working? Right. And then would work with them to exchange and get it back. And so they kind of felt that they had a partner in us and we weren't just going to sell them something and never call again.
Right.
So we really cared about how the product sold to their customer and not just how we sold it to them.
And you started out small. I think a lot of people now, with just the way social media looks, it looks so easy, Gloriana, to be like, I'm going to start a business and it's going to become super successful overnight. And if it doesn't, something's wrong. You know, and we have to go back to remembering, we start out small and then you scale and grow, which I'm very excited to talk about as well. So you and your husband, Jason, started this business together. Why did he want to partner with you on this?
Basically what happened was I majored in marketing at Arizona State and thought I could go and work in marketing, and then realized that meant an office job. And I had, my little Banana Republic cardigan set and would go on these interviews and wasn't really getting the jobs because it wasn't really connecting. And so I thought, okay, you know what? I worked in retail through college. I'll go back to that. I got a job at Neiman's because I thought that sounded more professional and was at least a bigger corporation.
Sure.
So I thought, okay, let me go do that. And then realized that wasn't necessarily for me, but learned jewelry and kind of fell in love with jewelry there because all they had was an opening as an assistant manager in the jewelry department. And so then I went and worked for a jewelry designer that sold to Neiman's that needed an assistant and kind of learned the business. And she did fine jewelry, and I was 22 and I was like, I can't afford this.
Right.
But I felt
it looks pretty, but way out of my budget.
But I can't afford a $1,500 necklace. And I wanted it to be more fun and easy. And I loved the mixing and matching of it. And so I thought, okay, I love gemstones. I love this product. I can make it myself because growing up in Serbia, my grandmothers made everything. They crocheted tablecloths, they knit my sweaters, they sewed my clothes. So it was all this stuff that I learned to do.
So you kind of learned textiles and that sort
I knit
of
my
thing.
Barbie sweaters.
Really? Oh my God, my daughter would love you.
Back in the day. So I always had that hand, I always loved working with my hands. So it was fun for me in the beginning. So I thought, okay, I'm gonna just start making some stuff that I wanna wear and that is maybe not the best quality of gemstones, but it's still really beautiful. And then it kind of evolved from there. And then all of a sudden it was I was modeling at the time too. And that is I don't know, most people, but really not consistent.
Right. Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
you're always like waiting to get a call and going on so many auditions. And so I thought,
I know that well. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I thought, okay, I'm going to do this and let's see if we can make a business out of this. And it's funny because when we were doing that, we had all these other business things that we were thinking about doing. So this was just supposed to be something that we sold a little bit of jewelry to get us through until we like started our skincare line for men.
Oh, that's so funny. So it wasn't even the focus.
No, it was like
one of the many things you were trying.
It was just something that was flowing and we were doing, but I don't think at the beginning, neither one of us thought it was going to be like what we did.
Okay, I love that because again, I think people get so stuck with trying to figure it all out in the beginning and not letting it organically grow and evolve into being the thing. And we put so much pressure, Gloriana, on like getting it all right and doing it perfect from the beginning. And you've kind of just allowed yourself to really evolve.
Yeah, and I feel like now, I don't know if it's maybe to a detriment, but I feel that now in my life, like if something isn't flowing, I don't know if I almost like give up easier now, but I'm like, oh, that's not the right direction. We need to adjust. Because I'm very sensitive to it now. I'm like, okay, and I'll push. But then there's this thing of the other thing I feel like we're sort of told is like push through the struggle, like go through it. But then you have to know when you're just going up against the wall over and over and over and over again. You're like, that's not going to work. Yeah. You need to adjust course.
Yeah, I talk a lot about that too in entrepreneurship. It's like if you're constantly having to force an outcome, and there's not that flow. Yeah. Because we are taught, go big, go home, like keep pushing. But sometimes, especially as women, I think we are more intuitive. Yeah. And we could say, you know what? I keep knocking. No one's answering. Yes. Let's go to a different door. Right?
100%. Yeah. And you have to know if you have to find that balance. And for me, it's my gut. Like I just will know, I'm like, okay, something isn't flowing. And it happens to us too, like creatively here when we're designing products. Sometimes like we'll do something, we're trying to be innovative. And something will come in and it'll be great off the bat, and something isn't, and we'll go and rework, and then we get to a point. I'm like, okay, guys, let's take a time out. Yeah. Let's put this on the back burner for a few months. It's not flowing right now. Maybe it's not meant to come out right now, and it's just more. It's like that adaptability. That's like a huge thing for me is being adaptable.
And you kind of have to be
100%. And I see people like we've been doing this almost 16 years now, and I've seen so many people succeed and fail and go in and out of business, and a lot of it is that if you're not adaptable and not reading what's happening, cannot. My husband read that book, Who Moved My Cheese?
Yes, good book.
Yes. And so we're always like, okay, are we hemming and hawing? Like I'm like, where are we in the wrong corridor? Because it's always, you have to be able to say moving and saying like, okay, yes, that's what worked then, but that's not what's working now.
Right. Oh, such good advice is being able to really, change things and adapt. There is that resilience. Yes. Because it's like, what makes that 20% successful? Yeah. And there is that resilience, but if you're not able to adapt, because life changes so fast too.
Oh, and it feels so much faster now.
It doesn't. It does to me too.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. It's so much faster. Yeah. I mean, I feel like now, I don't know, I think my husband and I talk about it all the time. I feel like before with like media and how everyone was consuming everything, it was like Sunday you would sit down and watch Game of Thrones. Like it was like you waited for your episodes. Yeah. And now it's so much is coming at you that like to sync everyone. Yep. It's like you everything is your on 5 demand. Minutes of fame. Now I think it's like your 2 seconds of fame. Yep. Like everyone's like here and gone. Yep. And so I think it's hard. There's like so much coming at you. But you then, I don't know. It's the whole thing is overwhelming.
It is. You're not alone. So let's go back because we're talking about kind of being intuitive, and as a visionary leader, they say that intuition is one of the #1 traits that a visionary leader has. And being a woman too, we're just a little bit more innately intuitive, although men have intuition too.
Yeah, my husband's highly intuitive.
I want to go and talk about that. I see more and more men joining women-owned businesses because they're growing at such a fast rate. But you guys started this business together. Yes. Can you just maybe share with us some of the things that you've learned with that partnership? Maybe some pieces of advice?
I think for me, you either know that you can work with your partner or you cannot. I think that's like off, like you should know based on how your relationship is in general. And I think we wanted to do something together. I think we were probably a little naive of how difficult working together probably was, but we always had that really strong connection that we felt like we had a good grounding and base for it. Yeah.
So I say sometimes being naive is one of the greatest things when you're starting a business,
totally.
because if you knew
you
what
you
were supposed to know.
I know, you would never do it. So I say, I'm like, I can't go back.
Yeah.
Like, it's so much. But
yeah.
you have to have, and I mean, I think for us, like we have very high communication. We're in a good flow now. And then we also really, as the business grows, I feel like it becomes easier because you divide and conquer, right? And so I have things I work on. He has things he works on. Obviously, we like come together on the big things, but you have your spacing, so you're not in. Like there are days that I don't see him all day here,
right?
And
which in the beginning, I'm sure is very different because it was just the two of you,
and you're all in one room, and you're in one room,
right,
with like 2 other employees,
right.
And so there's nowhere, you're not going anywhere,
yeah,
right? And so someone's having a bad day, it's very clear that you're
clear the space,
yeah,
yes.
yeah. So now I think it's become, as you grow, becomes definitely easier because I just think you find your footing too,
right? So Gloriana, let's talk about that growth. So you started out really on your apartment floor,
yes.
creating this jewelry, and you were doing a lot of trade shows, right?
No, so the first year we literally used our parents' frequent flyer miles, hotel points. My sister lived in New York, and we would go door to door to boutiques. That was it. We didn't know what trade shows were.
Right.
We literally were so naive.
Yeah.
I mean, my husband laughs still. He tells the story. He called one of our first boutiques, and he's like, do you have a line sheet? Do you have a showroom? Will you be at market? And he was like, he's like, we got to figure out what a line sheet, a showroom, and market
like, what and what?
Yeah,
yes,
he's like,
yes.
And we had no idea. And so we spent the first year doing that, then realized, okay, wait, instead of us traveling, but I actually think that's part of the reason we probably succeeded in that first year is because the boutique owners, I think, were so grateful that we actually like went to Miami or went to
built
Boca.
relationships.
We actually built the relationships, and they got to know us, and so that's how we kind of started. And then we thought, okay, we got to get on this.
There's got to be a better way.
We have to be able to scale this somewhat.
Yes.
So then we got into our first trade show in. It was like January, which was Accessory Circuit in New York. And then we did that. And we basically primarily just worked with boutiques for a really long time. And when we started, this is so funny, like if you had a website as a brand, it was like faux pas.
Really?
Oh my God, yes. So boutiques and wholesalers, like it's fine if you had one as just a show product, but if you sold on it, oh my goodness, it was like a big deal.
Right.
Like you were then competing. It was a whole different world.
Yeah,
right?
there wasn't the e-commerce that there is today.
No.
Okay.
No.
But you had to have a site, but you couldn't sell on the site.
You just have little pictures, like pretty pictures on there, and that's it. And so that's talk about being adaptable. I mean, it's like one of our biggest revenue streams. So it's like you have to adjust, but I feel like almost like a dinosaur in this industry because I see everyone. I laugh even now because everyone, it's like these buzzwords come up. It's like D2C. And I'm like, yeah, that's what Gap is. Like, it's not a new revolutionary product to sell. A concept is there.
Right.
People sell directly to customers and have forever.
Right.
It's just, these are like new
hot
e-commerce brands that
yes.
just do it. So it's just different. You know what I mean? It's kind of funny.
So I want to know, what do you think makes your line so different?
I mean,
By the way, I love it. You can see I'm wearing some beautiful pieces today.
I like to think of the quality of the product. We're so huge on the quality and authenticity of the product and making sure that it lasts. And we also have a happiness guarantee. We want you to be like happy with it if something happens. Like sometimes the plating with certain people and their chemistry doesn't last as long. We will replate it for you. So we really, really stand behind that. We also really want to design product, at least from like, it's always been like me from the beginning, is that I want you to wear something and still love it in 2 years. It cannot be super trendy where you're like, okay, what was I thinking?
Right. Not such a good purchase.
No, that's not a good, and we have things that we do that are more fun, but I still, like I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, we did these tassel earrings and people would be like, oh, tassels are out. I'm like, well, not for me. Like when I'm in
still
Mexico,
love my tassels.
Yeah, when I'm in Mexico, my hair's in a bun, I want my tassel earrings.
Yeah.
So I still wear them and they're not like, because we still did them in a classic kind of way.
Right.
And so I like to think that we're sort of on trend, but do it in a more timeless way, basically.
And I love how adjustable everything is. It's probably one of my favorite features is that you can wear your necklaces at different lengths. Totally. You have, everyone has different wrist sizes. Yeah. So I love that.
Also, I think the jewelry, I think one of the differences is that I like to say you wear the jewelry, it doesn't wear you.
That is true.
Because I think there's a lot of jewelry out there that's the first thing you see on someone, and that's not my goal.
It's a statement piece where yours is really like compliments, and I love all the layers.
And you can layer it and make it more statement so it feels like it's yours. And that's kind of my thing. I want you to play with it and figure out your layer, figure out what, maybe you only want to wear one today, maybe you want to wear 4. Like I wanted
depending on your mood. There's so many options.
There's so many things.
A girl loves her options.
Yes,
you did a good job capitalizing on that. I want to know when you decided to scale. As a lot of us who are growing businesses and we're seeing some sort of success, like when do you hire more team? When do you decide to open up your first brick and mortar store? By the way, your stores are stunning. But I know from just being an entrepreneur for so long, that's a lot of overhead and risk. And so I'm so curious to know, when do you know it's the right time to level up?
So in terms of hiring, I always say it was to the point where in the beginning, it was like, okay, I can't sleep.
Mama needs a break.
Yeah, I'm here all day. Like, we're here all day. Like, we need to get help with this, you know? And I think that's kind of, and we still really try to instill that in our teams now too. Because it's so easy when you're growing to say, oh, I need this person to do this. And it's like, well, do you actually need that? Is that actually going to make it more effective and productive? Because sometimes people just farm things out that they don't want to do. And that's not part of it for me. Like, you have to do the grunt work.
Right.
Everyone has grunt work in their job. There's things I do that I don't want to do. And that never goes away.
It never goes away.
It doesn't go away, people. It's always there. There's always things that you would rather not do, but I feel like that's part of having
being a business.
Yeah, and having a good work ethic.
Yeah, for sure.
And then I think in terms of scaling, that was intuitive, I have to be honest. So there's a store, that's where our flagship store is here in Laguna. It's a corner we drove by most mornings on the way to work. And we would say, oh, if that ever became available, that if we ever opened a store, we never talked about opening our own stores. We were just like wholesale and e-commerce focused. And all of a sudden there was a for lease sign, and we have a lucky number, and the address was the lucky number. And like, it all kind of was serendipitous, and we were like, we just need to do this. It made no sense. Like, there was no reason for us at that time to open a store, and there wasn't anything that was telling us to. And we thought, okay, cool, let's give it a shot. And then once we did, it was so amazing. I think to be able to interact with the customer directly is so huge. To be able for them to interact and come in and see what our brand is actually about, and get to see all the product and everything, and tell our story from our own mouth is like,
it makes a big
awesome.
difference.
It makes a huge difference.
That actually, like, hands-on touch. Yeah. You know, I think we've lost that in a lot of ways. And in a lot of retail, you don't get that anymore. No. But you walk into your store and you feel your essence. You really do. You did a beautiful job with that.
Thank you. And I mean, I love shopping. Yeah. I'm a shopaholic.
Yeah.
But I like physical retail. Like, I love to go. And yes, I shop online, but that's once I know the brand.
I'm so with you.
So I need to go there.
We won't take the risk usually.
No, I'll say, okay, what is this? Like, I had to buy this bedding, and I love Parachute, that brand. It's like, and they had a store, and we happened to be in Chicago, and I went in and I felt the different sheets, and I thought, okay, these are the sheets I want. And then I went and purchased the ones, but it's hard when you can't feel. There's some things I need to feel.
Yes, absolutely.
And also being in their store, I'm like, oh, I love this brand. This is so cool. Like, you just become attached, and then you can transact online and wherever you want to. But I think that's super important. I just like to take my daughter back to school shopping.
Yeah. So
it's fun. Go in the fitting room.
Absolutely. I had the memories of doing that as a young girl with my mom.
And people say, they're like, oh, retail is dead. I'm like, I don't think so. I think it's just evolving.
It's evolving. Yes. And again, you have to be adaptable.
Yes, exactly. No, 100%. And know what your customers are there for and how people are interacting. You know, and there's a ton of people come into our stores. Do just that. Interact with the brand. See it. Maybe they don't transact, but they do when they get home.
Yes. That's so funny, right? They don't make the decision there, but then they go online and purchase it there. So being a risk taker is part of
100%.
Being an entrepreneur.
You have to be partly crazy.
You have to be. Actually, it's so funny, Mariana, because someone said to me when I was talking about what I do, they're like, oh, so you have a little crazy in your DNA. Yeah. Like, yep. You do. You have to be willing to take that risk and to trust.
Yes.
You know,
it's blind faith. Yes. You have to have blind faith.
What do you do when you make a decision that wasn't a good one?
We just tried. Honestly, we go back and say, okay, let's look back. How did we get here? Like, what were the things that drove us to make this decision? And why is it not working? And then really kind of, it's like that. We don't really wallow in it. We just say, okay, what are we learning from this? And let's move forward.
Yeah, I feel like for a lot of people that run a business, they expect much quicker growth.
No.
And a straight line up. Have you experienced that with your line?
No, it's single. I always say this. Everyone's like, and they'll say like, when was the moment you realized you've succeeded? I'm like, I still don't feel like I've succeeded.
Yeah.
I still don't. I feel like everything, to use a sports analogy, it's like everyone wants that home run. I'm like, just be happy if you can hit singles.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
just
get to the next base.
Get to the base.
Yes,
like you're good. Like, it doesn't have to be this big thing. It's funny. I think one of my very first trunk show I did with another designer who had these skirts, and they were like everywhere and super cute. And she was blowing up. Like, and I remember being like, oh my gosh, like, it's so great. Look, she's just growing so fast and blah, blah, blah. And then like 2 years later,
she was gone.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I thought, okay, you know what? And I see that all the time. And I think you don't want to be that flash in the pan.
You don't want to grow too fast.
No, because then that's the other thing. You have so many operational issues that come with that. I mean,
Yes.
that's not my forte at all, but I see it's
That's why we hire those people.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's rough. Like, it's not easy.
Yeah.
And you don't want that growth. Because even now, like, we could open more, there's definitely opportunities to open more stores, but we know like what we want to open and how many, at having everyone have like a level, calm head and like productive pace, because otherwise what is the point?
Right.
You end up making
chaos.
Complete chaos. Yeah, no,
chaos and burnout. Yeah.
Totally.
So one of the things that I love about your brand and why my company is called Inspired Living Goriana is because I feel like when we can build businesses that are making an impact in the world in some way, whether it's B2C or just by giving back in a charity sense, that is inspired living. Like when you can create your own income, you have freedom, you have autonomy, but you're also giving back.
Yeah.
That to me is what inspired living is. And that is one of the reasons why I've loved you and your brand so much as well. Let's talk a little bit about the philanthropy arm and where did that come about?
So one of the things I remember Jason and I being on our apartment floor, and sort of this thing was kind of, we're doing this. And I think both kind of having a conversation, we would say like, well, we're not curing brain cancer here.
We're making pretty jewelry.
We're making pretty jewelry. And I'm like, okay. And so getting like, at the beginning, I felt like we both had this altruistic like need of like wanting more and like, you know, like giving back. And I think we realized that, okay, but how we're going to do that is by building a company and then taking that and then giving back to causes that are important to us and helping those around us. Mm-hmm. It doesn't have to be that what we do, like we don't have to run a nonprofit to make it fulfilling. Basically.
Exactly.
And so
you don't.
No.
You don't.
So that's kind of been the motto. I've always, like, we both really strongly feel about, like, it's super important for us to give back. I think it gives so much meaning to what we do. Mm-hmm. I mean, I will say too, even for me, as this has grown, like having customers share their really personal and emotional stories of how they're connected to the brand and the product is so fulfilling and so rewarding that I never really, I didn't really realize at the time what I was kind of putting out there. Mm-hmm. And that people, and I think it's different. I think jewelry is different. I think clothing, you're not maybe like emotionally that attached to a t-shirt. I mean, maybe if there was given in some circumstance, but I think jewelry, people, there's meaning to it. People
absolutely,
like even I freak out. I'll be like, I lost that earring, and Jason's like, are you serious? There's like 100 at the studio.
But it's that
but
one.
It's just that one. It was mine.
But you also, like, you have a piece, and every time you put it on, you can think of something, or you know it gives back, or there's a story behind it. And I think that's the beautiful thing about jewelry, that it does make you feel something. And by the way, every brand should make you feel something. Yeah.
And I think, you know, one thing with the stores that's great is we have this, we have these giving back, like charity events that we do. And so if you have a charity that you love, you can come in and throw a party and we'll give like a percentage of the, like 19%, that's our number.
The 19, number. Now we 19, know the number, 19.
Yes. Goes back to your charity of choice. And that's like one way we like to give back. We also have like bigger corporate things that we do. We actually, I'm going to say like 12 years ago, started Team Hunger. So once a year, we basically set up at all the grocery stores around here and ask people to donate, like pick up extra canned goods as they're inside. And it started as a fun little way to get our employees and ourselves to do something fun together and a way to give back. And now we do it every year and it's cool. Like it's just like little ways like that. And they're small, but they mean a lot, like all together. If that makes sense. Yeah. It doesn't have to be this huge thing. At one point we did talk about starting a charity arm to this whole, and we were like, okay, wait, that's a whole nother business.
It's a whole nother business. And you don't have to do something on this grandiose scale, you know, and it does. You've created deeper meaning for your consumers and for you. Yeah. And that is inspired living. That's way to go.
Thank you.
So let's wrap up. Give me maybe your top pieces of advice for people that are looking to start a business or grow a business.
Okay, so one of my biggest things is truth, and it's being truthful and honest with yourself, being truthful and honest with your employees, and like kind of having those check-ins of like, does this feel right? Do I need to, like, you know what I mean? Don't do things based on what you think you should do, but be honest to yourself and authentic to like what feels good to you. And then I think it's what we talked about is adaptability.
Right.
You have to be adaptable. You have to just be able to realize when something isn't working, but not too adaptable where you're all over the place.
Right, where you're constantly changing
things. Yeah, so you have to basically like, you have to find your grounding and your authenticity and be you and know what, or the why of what you're doing something, and then be adaptable as to the best way to make that happen, basically.
Yes. Great advice, Gloriana. Thank you for sharing with us today.
Thank you. Yes.
And we'll definitely post your link below so you can go check out her beautiful jewelry line if you don't know about it yet. And if there's a retail shop near you, you have to go check one out too, because it is quite the most beautiful experience working in that shop. It's hard to leave. I had my daughter with me or else I might have stayed for a long time. But I hope this inspired you. You know, we would love to hear from you. So please post your comments below. And if you are inspired, take a minute, take a breath, and share this with someone. Because when you're inspired, you inspire others. And that is what this world is all about. Gloriana, thank you again
Oh my
so
God.
much.
So happy to be here.
Love it, me too. Yeah. And thank you for watching this Inspired Living interview. As always, remember to keep dreaming it, living it, and being it. Until next time.